Hearing the words is faithful, it felt like a voice whispering, I haven't left you, even when you can't feel me, because he's always there. He's always around us.
Can't see grace for what it is until you need it most. God feels so close to us in those moments.
The third hour is here. Holy Spirit appear. Guide us in all
kind of, to me, proves like that God has knitted us together, like to glorify Him. Literally, with every breath that we take, even without us knowing it, we are glorifying God.
And glorify the risen Lord and King.
You want to have a closer relationship with Jesus, trying to be the best person you can be each and every day. That glorifies Him.
Holy Spirit, do your thing. We might not know how, but we ain't gonna feel.
Like, that is God sending us. That is how He feels for us. That is how He cares for us.
Move us today, Holy Spirit, come and fill this place. Move us today, Holy Spirit, come and fill this place.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the third hour. Before this episode gets started, we wanted to let you guys know a place that you can go and find the music that we talk about. Go to Spotify under the third hour collection, and we will have 2 playlists there.
So the 2 playlists that we have, the first one is Christian Music Weekly. That's updated every Thursday night, Friday morning, because that's when the new songs are released each week. So every week that'll have the newest songs that are out in the Christian music industry. Then the other one is going to be Third Hour Review. And what is that? That's the songs from the previous week that we covered in the podcast, that you saw here, that you listened to here. And so we'll have those songs at the top of that list, and then we'll have every other song from that week also in there as well. In case you missed it the week that it came out, just check out our episodes. You can see what we thought was some of the best ones, and then go back and listen to all those good songs as well.
So, guys, now it's time to start another episode of the third hour. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Third Hour. Thank you for joining us. We want to first say, before we get started in this episode, thank you for all the support from last week's episode about Lottie's adoption story. Such a beautiful episode of a
Awesome story.
Yeah, a story that Rusty and Mariah shared, co-host of the Third Hour with us. I was there present during that. I wasn't in it, but I was helping set up the stuff and listening from behind the scenes, and it had me choked up and emotional just watching it. So really a blessing to be able to witness that, to hear it. Such a blessing for them in their life. I just want to thank Mariah and Rusty for sharing, and thank you guys for taking time to listen to the episode. I think we had over 300 people check it out, and that's pretty big for us in terms of numbers. And so I know that episode really impacted a lot of people. And just as much as I know it impacted us. But before we get into the music, I do have one more thing. And this is more of a question because I'm curious. My co-host over here, Mr. Shawn, went to see one of my favorite bands growing up, Third Day. And so I would be upset at myself if I didn't ask him how that concert was before we get started on new music.
It was awesome. It was really good. They had a ton of songs that they played. It's just amazing how awesome Mac Powell's voice still is. And then they told some stories and shared how like the band got together and everything. They did basically every song off of the Bus album, if not in whole, in snippet, it was just great. One of my favorite all-time songs by them is Love Song, and found out that was like one of the first songs that they wrote, basically like as teenagers. They may have been 19, 20 years old, but it was one of the first songs that they wrote as a Christian band and stuff. But it was great. Wonderful show, wonderful music, testimonies and stories and things.
The Love Song, before you continue much further, if you guys haven't heard that song, it's actually on our Hidden Gem. It's our first Hidden Gem.
Oh, what?
First episode I think me and you had together.
I didn't remember, but yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was the Hidden Gem. I didn't remember it was the first one, but
I think it was the first one.
To me, that's one of the like It's one of the best songs ever, man. Because spoiler alert, it's like Jesus singing to you, and it's amazing, just amazing song. And yeah, they wrote that fairly young, fairly fresh, new Christians, It's awesome. But yeah, they just did an amazing job. It was great. I didn't realize it at the time. We were their second to the last stop of the tour. So they was in Charlotte, and then they were going, I think the next night they were going to do it again in Atlanta, which is their hometown. And so it was cool. They did great. Zach Williams opened up for them. I mean, they gave the majority of the night to Third Day.
Oh, I'm
You know what I mean? Normally go to a concert, you have we've got three, maybe even a fourth band, that does like one or two songs right at the beginning. No, Zach come out and did maybe four or five songs, if that much. And then they took a break, and then Third Day came out, and it was.
And even for Zach, because he's kind of a bigger artist, for him to, I don't want to say take a backseat, but in a way, he's a headliner in a lot of nights. And so to agree to come on, to be a part of that and just do a few songs.
It was funny. Mac Powell was like, so how many of y'all been here to a Third Day concert before? And, everybody raised their hand for the most part. And he's like, all right, how many here? He's like, this is your first time. And he's like, maybe he's dragging you kicking and screaming, but anyhow, it's your first time being here. And he pretended like there wasn't very many. He's like, all right, keep them held up. He's like, 1, 2, 3. But there was a lot of people there, but it was probably 75% had been there. Yeah. And then 25% was like new and stuff. My son, that was one of the main reasons we wanted to go. It's because, so we took my son and daughter, and he was loving it, man. He was eating it up. It was just a great overall experience. It was great. Oh, being that old, we was watching people walk in, and my wife goes, do we look that old? And I was like, yes, we look that old. That's our people right there. Everybody going in. That's us.
Well, a concert like that, everybody that grew up at Third Day, it's probably going to be older than most of the. I mean, I'm sure some of the kids would like them too, but definitely more of air when you're older than me.
Don't say our. I'm way older than you and Chelsea.
Third Day had a long career. You might have been towards the beginning. I might have been towards the end.
I mean, we saw them fairly early on. They were our friend Dave Snell. Shout out to Dave Snell. Was telling me that one of their, just before they took off and stuff, there used to be a place in Kingsport called the Fire Escape, and it was kind of like a Christian club. It had like a lot of the, pretty cool. And before they blew up, they played there. Third Day played there and stuff. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of there at the very beginning of it all and stuff. Yeah, cool. They did Consuming Fire. I didn't say anything. I'll share that story one day, but there's a story behind it, and I was just.
I think you shared it on the first episode. I'm pretty sure that you had with us.
So then, if you guys have heard, but my son, I wanted to see if he heard it the same way I did.
Yeah.
And so I didn't tell him anything about it. And I said, "What do you think they were singing there? Could you hear the words? What was they saying?" He said something about a fire, and I was like. I was like, he did not hear the same thing I heard.
You heard, yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're pretty close, buddy. And then when I explained it to him and told him the story, he laughed and laughed. He thought it was great.
Sure. If you would have told him that went ahead and put that seed in his head, it kind of sounds like that.
That's what he would have.
It would have had. Third Day is great. I got to see him back one of the old winter jams. I can't remember who was headlining that one, but they were the co-headliner. And then oddly enough, they were also the co-headliner for Sunfest one time with Toby Mac. And that's the 2 times I saw them. And they were fantastic both of those times. I think it was after the Revelation album is when I saw them, which was fantastic. I mean, that album was great. But yeah, I mean, awesome. And it's the 30th anniversary. Could be the last time.
I feel like they're going to put something else out, but
I hope you're right. Yeah. I hated I missed it. I wanted to go so bad, and then I just waited around too long to.
And we didn't even stay for the whole concert. We had to leave to get back, and because we drove down. We weren't planning on spending the night and stuff, and they were still playing and going like it was. And at first I thought he was making a joke. He said, "We've got over 2 sheets of a set list here, guys." He said, "We're going to do all the songs tonight," and I think they probably got close to doing all the songs And they put it out there too, so I mean, it was really good.
So let's start with some of this new music. Guys, I know I'd already thanked you for the episode, the support we had with Lottie's adoption story, but I also want to say thank you for our last music episode. We had a double the amount of viewers that we usually have. We had people comment, talk about some of the songs that touched them, and I love hearing that from you guys. I thank you for the support. And we hope you enjoy this episode as well. To start this out, I guess I can just go ahead and start it, Shawn, since I'm already running my mouth.
Yeah.
My first song, it's going to be kind of on the rock side. And this is a guy we've discussed before, and it's Stephen Stanley. And Stephen Stanley has been, like I said, a guy we've discussed on here before. One of my favorites in terms of like the rock world. He's kind of newer. When I say newer, I mean, he's been, I guess, around for a little bit, but he's not from like the old guard of like Seventh Day Slumber or Disciple or Skillet,
Yeah.
you know, part of those like older rock bands. He's a little bit newer. This song's called Nevermind. I love this song.
I liked it too.
For me, it just made me reflect a little bit on myself. And because I guess Chelsea would probably say I'm not as much of a control freak or whatever, because I'm pretty loosey goosey. I just go with the flow in a sense. But in the other, do feel like I'm kind of like a control person when it comes to like things going on in my life. Maybe it be trials or maybe it would just be assignments that I'm on. Like I feel like I have to have like a good fix on it. Like I don't like letting go and letting God just take it and trusting Him as much as I should. I just like running my head into the situation as much as possible. I just feel like I need to do more. I feel like I'm not done enough, and I just try to keep going at it over and over and over. And I feel like in some ways it's good to have that work ethic, but then if you're not in prayer, ultimately like
If you're
pray
not,
for His
I
will.
was going to say, if you're not really just trusting Him, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's this song. It's never yours to begin with, right? It's never
Yeah.
mine. God's, to borrow from what we talked about last week with Brandon Lakes and stuff. He's the author and
Mhm.
finisher of our story, and He's got a plan and a purpose and things. And so, how about you just trust Him with it? You know. And you're talking about prayer stuff reminds me, and not that I do this, like, but Nehemiah prayed about everything. I think we've talked about this
Yeah.
before. The king, asked him something, and Nehemiah's like, the king is asking him, and he's like, hold on for a minute. And he goes and
Yeah.
he prays real quick and then answers the king. It's like, we don't, pray about stuff like that. I feel like there's things that we're like, okay, we need to involve God with this, but this I can handle on my own. You know what I mean? But your life is not your own, right? Paul said that you're a bondservant of Christ. He paid a price for you. So yeah.
And I agree in the sense too that like, Jesus says, to kind of cast your yoke on Him, and like a yoke back then was like, but you're both carrying the load, right? And I feel like a lot of times, like what you said, sometimes you feel like the issues might not be significant enough. You only call on Him for certain situations, but it's a lot of times it's those things that you don't think is important is what starts weighing on you. And starts kind of taking a toll on you because it's kind of like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's those little things that start taking you out after a while. So yeah, just like you referenced with the lyrics he's talking about in it. I was worried about my life pretty much, but I was holding on to something that was never mine. So I like that song. I think it's a good brings awareness to understanding that it's not ours, to let it go sometimes. And when you do that, the weight off your shoulder or weight kind of gets lifted off your shoulders, and ultimately He has the plan that's the best for you and to glorify Him.
So my song of the week, I will and normally a lot of these will start off, it'll be like some worship song or something, and he starts off with a kind of a song, so I'm going to start off with a little bit of a different genre. My song of the week, like the very first time that I heard it, like just loved it, and it's KB's Left Hand. And the beat is just awesome. I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. Cannot believe that this will not generate some type of Christian dance or something. Like it's just got just the beat. It's that classic beat, man. It's about marriage, right? It's about being faithful in marriage and how like he's been with this one woman, since the get-go. There's no side chick. He's not cheating on her or anything. And like, it's him and her, like, and the song's like, if you got a ring on your finger, throw your left hand up, like be proud about it. So often people talk disparagingly about marriage and as if it's just some kind of contract or something, but we as Christians, honestly, if you really love somebody and stuff too, you should know and understand the value and the importance of marriage. And then it's got Terrain on it. I think that's how you say her name. Taryn. Yeah, sorry. She knocks it out of the park.
Yeah,
just is a great job. Her with her line and stuff. So I played it. I don't know how many times, like a lot. Quite a bit. That was my top song of the week, man. A just really, really awesome song. So of course KB's gonna knock. I think did he have one? Was it last week with
What Roseboro? I can't remember what his name is.
Voice. Royale.
That's what it was. Yeah, Royale.
Yeah, Tom Royale.
I can't remember.
Tommy Royale, I think. Yeah, we're butchering it. What I was gonna say was, it's like last week we were like, man, it's the first song that we've not like, and just it was just for whatever reason didn't hit us like the previous ones did. It's like, well, this week he's got something for us. It's like right back in the saddle again. It's like, it's awesome. Great song.
When I first heard this song, because it dropped, past 12 o'clock on that Thursday night going into Friday morning, it was one of the first ones I listened to. And before I even listened to it, I saw KB and Taryn together, and I was like, Shawn's gonna love this. I didn't even I could listen to it yet, but I know those are two of your favorites. I think both of them are great too. KB's coming out with a new album, I think. I'm not sure when that release is. I need to look. He's been teasing it for a while, but he's had like random releases like just sprinkled through there. I'm not sure if all these songs are going to be on his album or not, but when we get that information, we need to put it out there because usually he's one of the top Christian rap artists. That album, I'm sure, is going to be great. Bouncing over from that into a different subgenre, although another really popular Christian artist, a guy that's rising up through the Christian music industry, who's really like speaking to a lot of younger people, but I'll be like older too. And that's Josiah Queen. And this song, Make Heaven Crowded. I wanted to first just kind of touch on the first line in the verses, because I think that kind of sets the stage for the song. And then I had a verse today, actually, as we we're going through the church service this morning, in the same part of Isaiah that Pastor Brandon was reading from. I had a part in it, but it starts off the song, says, I heard an atheist say, no one really believes, because if it was good news, they'd tell everyone they see. And just before I get into it, I also had it wrote down in the part of Isaiah 9, you will enlarge the nation of Israel, and its people will rejoice. They will rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest. And I think that Jesus, through what he did for us and living the life that he did and paying the price that he did, and then ultimately being resurrected, like, it's the good news. And if someone that, you look at it from the vantage point of an atheist, like Josiah Queen said, like an atheist can be like, man, if that's real, why would you not tell everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And so then why, as those believers who really do believe that is real, that did happen, and he's still living today,
why aren't we sharing it?
Why aren't we sharing it? So I think that it kind of calls on that. And, I think that we have to start being aware of harvest and I think you could even go deeper into it as far as like always being ready for Jesus to come back. Well, if you're in the sense of like, you think it could happen anytime, why are you not telling more people? And I struggle with that.
Yeah.
That's something that I struggle with.
I think that's the flesh side of us is always like looking for some level of acceptance. And I think he even mentions that in the song, like the reason that we don't do that is because it's out of fear. We're afraid of how it'll be taken. We're afraid of how it'll be received, how they'll judge us, what it's like. And I think that just goes back to the flesh, like I said, and whether you realize it or not, there's a part of you that wants that level of acceptance, from somebody.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to be rejected or whatever. And so songs like this, I think, is good to remind us, like, but the point of it is, do you love Jesus? And if people are dying and going to hell because they don't know him, shouldn't you be telling them about it? Like, that's the point of this life.
Yeah.
So Jesus was rejected. Jesus was scorned and mocked. And so you might be too, so I think it might just kind of help remind us and spur us to, try to make heaven crowded, right? To try to be the disciples and the witnesses that Christ would want us to be.
That's what I was sitting there thinking, and at times I think he actually comes to the resolution in his song of understanding that, like, he might fail at it, or he may even go at it alone, because he's like, no, I'm not ashamed. I followed the way, fought past my comfort zone. The harvest is due and the workers are few. If it's just me, I'll do it alone. And so he almost comes to that point of like, this is too important of a message to even worry about the no's or the awkwardness or being in his comfort zone. It's like now he's going out to tell the world. And I think that's probably for all of us. A lot of times it is out of your comfort zone, right? And you might hear that you might have an awkward situation to where you don't get acceptance back. They might even not enjoy what you're telling them, or they may, it may even be confrontational to them. They may think you're talking down on them or something, but just trusting, and I think that he'll lay on your heart what you need to tell someone. And I think it's better to talk than be silent.
And that's what I was going to say. Even if you feel like it didn't change anything, right? A seed was still sown. or maybe a seed was watered. You have no idea. You know what I mean? It was cultivated in some way. Just I'm always fond of a scripture Jesus tells us. He said that anyone who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is not fit for the kingdom. And you think about it, if you're, if they had oxen was like plowing, this field up and stuff, there's going to be a tendency to like look back and is it being plowed right, or if they're actually like kind of like trying to hoe out a row or plan out a straight row or whatever. It's like, is it being straight or whatever? And he's like, don't worry about the results is basically what he's telling them. You just do the work. Right? What if I tell you to plow, just do the work and don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about that. That's me. And that's what Paul told us too. He's like, some water, some plant, it's like, but God gives the increase, right? We don't have any say so of what happens with it. But if you're just faithful to do what he tells you to do, regardless, right? Well, then, you're faithful,
I love that. That story you shared with me before I ever got up and spoke at church or anything. And that story has been like the thing that I always revert back to anytime I have to speak at all, because I'm really bad to hyperfixate on what I just said and beat myself up for it. And so that story has like really changed my outlook and perspective on things.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, it sticks with you, right? Like after you see that and you realize it's like, that's what Jesus is wanting us to do, is just to go to work. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about what's been, just do. Pastor Brandon said something to me once too that's always stuck with me too. It's like, if you worry about and think about how, let's say you minister with somebody and then you're like, man, I wish I'd said this and I wish I did that and I missed it here or whatever. If you really beat yourself up about that and stuff, that's a point of pride, because flip the script. What if you did really really well and you thought you did really well? Then you're like, man, I really drove home the point here. And man, I really touched him here and I really did this. And so all of a sudden, I did that. Yeah. And so whether you feel like you did good or bad, the thing is you did it. So it's like, God, to you be the glory. I'm, sorry if I had some shortcomings, if I missed it, but just bring an increase with it, Lord, increase. So my next song is by Sam Wesley, and it's called Holding On to Me. And so I guess the reason it resonates with me is like the song is kind of talking about, at times in life when you don't realize or you're struggling, you're going through something, and maybe you feel like God's being distant or he's not talking, or you're just having a hard time feeling and knowing that he's there and stuff. In all reality, though, he's really holding on to you. He's got you. Jesus said, the Father's put in my hands, nothing's going to be able to remove them from me. He's got you, and he's working through these things. And it was just encouraging to me because, you just go through things sometimes and you begin to allow the enemy to distance you from verses like, I will never leave you nor forsake you, and while you're going through these struggles and these difficult times, which Jesus said was going to happen to you, the enemy likes to try to creep into your mind and plant doubt and and stuff. And this song was just an encouraging song, and there's a specific line in it where he says, when it feels like you've been hiding and you just won't break the silence, I'd be lying if I said that you weren't holding on to me. I've had 100,000 glimpses of shooting stars, so I can't miss it. You let me know there's not a minute that you're not holding on to me. And I think, if we would take a minute, take a step back and just look around us and kind of, try to have that attitude of gratitude, you'll begin to realize it's like, hey, God really is holding on to you. Like all the stuff that's going on and happening and stuff, the fact that you're still breathing, that you're living, he's still got a purpose and he's still got something that he wants you to accomplish and do. And he's still working through you, his purpose, his calling, And so, yeah, the song was just an encouragement to me and just a good reminder that no matter what I face, no matter what I go through, no matter what I'm feeling in the moment, God is holding on to me.
I think too, just to echo what you said about having the attitude of gratitude, and take a second to think about how he's holding on to you. I think a lot of times, the old saying like, history repeats itself, right? Well, in some ways, like you look back at through your life in a trial, and sometimes like when you're in the trial, I think sometimes it's hard to look outside of it and see how he's really saved you from maybe going too far or the issue getting too bad. If you were to look back at through your own history, like through a trial that you'd already made it through, and you can reflect and be like, look what God did there. And look how, when I was in it, I did not think that it was going to turn out the way it did. And all you could see is the waves and the waters rising, but he was working, and he was there doing that and working things out for you. So I think in some ways, because I know somebody out there listening to this, I'll be like, wow, I don't feel like he's holding on to me. I've got this going on. I've got this going on. I've got this going on. Maybe just think about maybe something you went through before, and look what he's done, and what he'll continue to do. But I also wanted to say, like, if you like kind of that country feel, if I recall correctly, he's got that country sound to him too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And does, and so I really like that. I liked his sound. That was one of the songs too that I considered having in mine. Just didn't quite make my 3, but it's a great song that you guys need to check out. I have one more song that I wanted to share, and this is one that they've kind of put out before, but they have re-listed, I guess, in a way that,
Re-released.
yeah, I know, re-listed, as a way for it to be kind of more of a single, I guess. But as they release it again, they've also released it a worship song, but also they've released it with the female singer doing it, with the male singer. They've released an acoustic track with it, and they are actually on tour right now with Sadie Robertson. She's been going with them and speaking. So they also released a portion of her talking on this little EP of this song, or I guess you would call it an EP. It's just a single. It's all the same song, but it's all kind of like a tiny album EP type thing. But anyway, without getting into the weeds of that, it is called The Perfect Love of Jesus by LO Worship. This song, for me, it just like had me broken down for most of the week. A lot of songs on this playlist. I think there were a lot of good songs, but as far as one that like really got me,
It wrecked you.
it was this one. It just talks about the overwhelming grace, the perfect love of Jesus that carries us through all of our days. And I think that I sit and think, and I know that I'm not alone in this because I know there's other people out here that sit and think of this too. I was blessed growing up with parents that loved me, but I'm not sure that anyone could give you a reflection of Jesus's true love for you. And I think a lot of times growing up, your measure stick of love is what you experienced growing up. Maybe it be through a parent or a loved one. And then you start looking at everything through that lens of that's what love is. But I don't know that I truly comprehend the perfect love of Jesus. And for me, this song kind of brought me to that place that it's not like any love that we experience here on earth. It's so much more than that. And it's everlasting. It's a never ending fountain of grace in the sense that, I think, what is the verse when it says Christ died for us yet like while we were sinners. And so that for me is what I think about. Even though when I feel like I fall or I mess up or I feel like I'm not enough, like he loves me, he still died for me. He would do it again. And even if it was just you, he would do it. And so it's just a perfect love that, like I said, that I don't think that we can truly understand, but thankfully, like through building this relationship with Jesus and like talking to him more, seeking him out more, I feel like it is something that grows, like our understanding of it. But I don't know, like it just had me kind of choked up through most of the week. And I know that if you guys take time to listen to it this week, it'll probably speak to you as well, whatever you're going through.
So one of the songs that got me that way, and more so because I just know, like, I guess in a time of my life, but I know there's other people it's not past to them. It's something that they're going through now. But there is a song by Molly Kate Kessner called Content, and it's such a good song, and it's basically just talking about, like, there's just sometimes when we go through life that we're living for, whether we realize it or not, for the world's measurement of success, and we're defining our value in life by how what the world calls valuable or what the world deems as successful. Anyhow, in this song, she just, it just unravels to the point, like, it's like, if I don't have anything other than you, I'm going to be content, because she realizes, like, real worth, real value, what matters in life, all that is going to be found in Christ, and in his purpose for us. And I just know there's people out there that's struggling, and they are fighting, whether they realize it or not. It's like they're fighting against the work that God wants to do in their life and stuff, because they're trying to live up to something that the world expects them to live up
Mhm.
to. Man, to me, it's like if you hear this song, if you struggle with being content, or you feel like you always have to be better, do better, get the next thing, achieve this, do that. If you're constantly, chasing things but never feeling like complete, like because you won't as long as you're chasing things and not, pursuing him. It's two different things. Chasing things out there in the world and pursuing him is two different things.
Yeah.
Chasing things in the world will always leave you empty. Yeah, when we pursue him, it's when we find fulfillment. And this song does such a good job of, I think, just allowing the Holy Spirit to minister to you that way. I implore you, like, if you're going through things and you're feeling if you're not content, right? If you're struggling, if you're frustrated with life and you feel like you're just always doing and trying to be better, do better, listen to this song, listen to Content, because what the world's trying to get you to buy into is a falsehood that's only going to leave you drained and ultimately just destroy what God's really trying to do to you. I'd say listen to this song. You'll be emotional. You'll be refreshed, and things will be better at the end of the song.
It's like
Or you'll have a better things. Things might not actually be better, but you'll have a better
perspective
perspective on it, and the outcome will be better ultimately.
Doesn't he kind of, I can't remember which letter it was, but he kind of speaks on the fact that he's done this.
Oh yeah,
this,
it's
and
Philippians
this.
4:13.
Yeah.
We always want to use,
Yeah.
I can do all things through Christ who
Yeah.
strengthens me, for our own things.
Yeah.
I'm tackling this today, but I know I can do it because Christ strengthens me.
Mm.
But when you go and read that in context, you read the few verses before that, and it's specifically what you're saying. He said, I've been basically at the top of the mountains. I've been at the lowest valleys. I've had a lot. I've had nothing. And in all things, I've learned to be content. I've learned that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So no matter what he faces, because a lot of times people will think, if I can just achieve this. But here's the thing: if you did have a lot of money, if it's like you got other problems. Money doesn't.
Yeah.
Money opens up other issues and other things. It's like you'll never be satisfied. God showed me. I really felt like God showed this to me once. Can't remember which Proverbs it is. Or is it in Psalms? Anyhow, it says that the eyes and the eyes of man is like the stomach, or the eyes of the stomach of man is like hell in the grave or whatever. It's never full. Meaning, like, your eyes and stuff, like, you're always going to want.
Yeah.
You're always going to desire. And I felt like the Lord spoke to me once and was like, you'll never be content until you realize you'll never be content. And what I mean is, like, when you have that realization that your flesh is always going to want more, it helps put things into perspective. It helps you to deal with things. It's like, man, well, I know I really want this right now, but when I get it, it's going to be fleeting. It's like when you realize that you're not going to be content, it helps you be content because it helps you refocus about what is important.
And I think, two things come to mind. One, like C.S. Lewis says, right? Sometimes you feel like you're made for a world that's not this one, and it's because you are. And I think you're always kind of homesick, whether or not you can see it or not. And that desire may be that you're actually craving him more, but sometimes we think we can fill it with other things. But like you said, it's fleeting. It's almost like I think it calls back to verse in the Bible that talks about your foundation. But I know old Christian band that we like, Casting Crowns, American Dream was one of the first songs that I ever heard by them. And, you keep making castles in the sand, and those things, those accomplishments you have in life, they may look nice, but at any moment, they can be wiped away. So what's your foundation in? Is it just sand, or is it
the rock, right? Yeah. And this legacy you think you're building, it's just a castle in the sand. The real legacy is what you do for the Lord. We were talking about, I think it's in Acts 13. I think Stephen's talking to him. He's teaching him through the Old Testament. Before he gets stoned, he's showing him everything about Jesus, leading up to Jesus. And he talks about David in one part, and he says that when David had completed the purpose of God for his generation, he went to sleep like his ancestors. He died. And I was like, that's the type of life that you want to live at the end of your life, that people can say, Cameron fulfilled the purpose that God had for him in this generation. And now he's in eternity. It's like, what more do you want? You know, that's the type of legacy you're trying to
Sure.
leave behind, is that people can say about you that you completed the work of the Lord for your life. That's the only thing that's going to matter. That's the only thing that's
Yeah.
eternal.
One of my favorite people to listen to, Tim Tebow. Most people know who Tim Tebow is. Listened to him a lot here the last week or so on podcasts and stuff. And anybody knows who Tim Tebow is, knows that through his ministry now, he's all the time doing something, whether it be through the foundation or just speaking, whatever, doing books. And he said that one of his biggest fears is showing up to heaven well rested. And
Oh,
so
wow.
he would rather show up to heaven exhausted, that he was trying to do work for the right things for the Lord, but that he is working. So that was a great song to end it on, Shawn. And guys, I hope you enjoyed our deep dive on those 6 songs that we had. Just like every episode, we're going to run through the whole list that dropped for this week.
Can we do a couple little shout outs real quick? Some ones that, you know, if we'd had more time, there's some more songs I think I would have talked about. Reflector by Jeremy Camp. I feel like the
Great
last few
song.
songs he's done, he's getting a little heavier, a little rock.
is
Yeah, and
more
I like it because
yeah,
it takes me
rock
back to
based.
like one of his
Yeah.
very first songs was called "Take My Life," and it was such a good rocking song. And Reflector is really cool. There's a song that is a remake of Chris Tomlin. It's Still the King. I was trying to see what the group is that did that. Still the King though. It's I don't remember what group it is. I don't see it on here. That was another good one I had. And there's several R&B songs on here. It's really great. Tori
Yeah.
Kelly's was really good. I think it's Renee has one on here that's really good. So really good R&B. We had several good hip hop songs. Yeah. What about your notables or?
Yeah, so some that almost made the cut for me to kind of deep dive more into, but songs that are worth mentioning. Well, they're all worth mentioning, and we'll obviously name drop all of them, but ones that also kind of stuck with me. At least unfortunately, we don't have the time to dive in all of them. As Father's House by Elevation Rhythm. Most people that listen to this probably know who Elevation Rhythm is. They're a great worship group out of Elevation Church. I really liked it. We talked, and I know we're going to probably dive into this more next week because it's still an ongoing thing, but Forrest Frank dropped Jesus is Alive, and that's an ongoing thing that people are collaborating with him on that. So a tease for next week, we'll probably dive into that more because that's still growing and it's not fully finished. Like
Yeah,
that
I don't
work
think it's
isn't.
come to completion yet. What he's
No,
doing.
another one, these guys, we've talked about them before, but After Grace, I Found Jesus.
I Found Jesus great. We said that one reminds you of Bloodline or
Muscadine
Bloodline.
Yeah, if you're country music fans out there, country duo, Muscadine Bloodline, they
Did you like
kind of give you
Feel
those vibes.
by
So,
Elijah Thomas.
who was it?
Feel
Phil.
by Elijah Thomas. I thought that was
Yeah,
another
pretty good
one.
one. Here's another one that I had. Of course, Benjamin William Hastings. He had some more songs that came out that were really good. Another one that I almost had was Rebirth Mark by Johan Skarde. I think he's a worship artist out of Sweden, which would actually be our second Sweden artist that I know of that we've shouted. Ebenezer being the other one. Fantastic Christian rap artist that collaborated with us on Instagram. So I love that song, Rebirth Mark. I think it kind of, without getting into it too deep, as you surrender your life to Christ, I think you also have that moment or those opportunities to share your testimony and things that may have left a mark on you, but through Christ now they have purpose. It's not just, meaningless scars, you know. So yeah, that was a
good one too. I
few.
liked it too. But if you want to, let's run down now. That was our honorable mentions. Or if we'd had more time, we would have dove deeper into those.
So as we've already mentioned those, I will just run through this list here. So if you hear one that you like, definitely go to the Third Hour Collection on Spotify, and you can go find these, check them out. As we mentioned, Benjamin William Hastings had 2 new ones drop, Wondrous Cross, When I Survey, and Hollow Grave. And I actually think those are previous songs that he released. King, I hope I'm saying that right. We have Loves Me Well by Caleb Meckham. He's been dropping a lot here recently. You mentioned Control by Tori Kelly. Yep, it's her name. How Great by Southeast Worship, one of my favorite worship groups out right now. Hold Me Up by Andrew Ripp, Jervis Campbell. Going down through the ones we haven't mentioned. Looking Down by Joseph O'Brien. Worthy by Stephen McWhirter, one of my favorite artists. Old and Gray, Ethan Beer and Lily Houghton. Kindly by Rachel Morley. Yoke by Cody Towell. Another shout out to a person that has contacted us before, and we've talked about her songs before. It's When You're Driving by Alex Jude. Another great song. That was
a good
one
song,
that
yeah.
we probably could have touched on too more. Battlefield by Sons of David.
You want to?
Yeah, it was really good. I really like this portion of the playlist, like these two songs. So Good to Me by Mosaic MSC, Legend of Christian Music. Two women that have really were pillars in Christian music for a while. I feel like that's Amy Grant and Natalie Grant.
Yeah, the Amy Grant's is Please Don't Make
Yep.
Me Beg. Please don't make us beg. Y'all two need to retire.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, listen, we have all kinds of thumbs down on our playlist because of that. Yeah, and the Real Me single version of Finale Grant.
Yeah.
Mama by Jess Ray, Sing Ugly by Lana Rose, Here I Am by Gio.
That was a good one. I like
Yeah,
that.
Shawn, as we go into the rap ones, you want to shout out some of those? I hear it, Loving Me.
Loving Me by Taylor Charmaine and Missy Lott. Same by Renee. That's the one I really liked. It's a great R&B song. It's just talking about how God never changes. He's always the same. Feel by Elijah Thomas. No Other Word for Grace But Amazing. That's Janet Pascal on Houston's First Worship. Testify. I Like Smoke. He Shall Be Praised, The Belonging Company, and David Dennis. Love of My Life by Bethel Music, Martin Smith, Hannah McClure, and Paul McClure. You Prepare the Fire. And you talked about The Perfect Love of Jesus by LO Worship. And then we're getting into some of the rap ones here. There's a song called Let 'Em In by Z and EGR. Big God, Big Blessings by Shepherd, Taylor Wells, Kid Prince, Tuvie, and Jay Steezy. On My Mind by The Saga and CJ Emulous. Then we got Draft Day by DKG. Victory.
I like the draft day intro.
I did too. I like those.
It kind of goes in like the NBA draft.
It's got the
sound. Yeah.
And then Victory of Scooty Wop. That's a really good one. Who You Know by Brain Miles. Whole Team Lit. I really like that one too. That's RRL and Cleve. I'm not for sure how to say that one. Holding Me Tight by Patrina DeLacy. That was a good one. Everybody Say Joy by George Jones III. Not what you say. Yeah. Go Jesus by JB the Preacher. Yeah. God is the Best by Sis and Lil Bro. Dis Dat by Magdagan. Father's House, ICF Worship, and David Cole. Come and Dwell by Michael Gabriel Monroe and Corey Miller. He Cares by Fresh Life Worship and Leon Gregory. Gracious Lord by Stephen McLeod. Everything That Has Breath by Andrew. How do you say that?
Aaron Zeller.
I
think so.
Yeah. Always Be by Mercy Hill Worship and Joe Richardson. Redeemer by Space Coast Worship and Avery Doreen. Worship My King by Moses Bliss and Grace Lubega. Like I Am Yours by Hopeful. And then last but surely not least is Stand Firm by Call Him D. This is one that we could have done and maybe we'll feature as we go out. This is an awesome rap song. I love Call Him D. He always keeps it very honest and, you know, like how to walk that walk, man. But this song is basically just like, he's just encouraging believers. He's like, you're going to hear all this nonsense and the world's going to tell you this. The world's going to tell you this. He's like, they're going to tell you, you know, that your Bible's not factual. They're going to tell you that God's not real. They're going to tell you all these things. And the whole song's just about that. And basically it's just like, stand firm. You know the truth. You know the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. It's like, stand firm. It's a great rap song. Great artist. If you like, all of his songs are really good.
And
so, yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great way to end the podcast this week. If you take anything as a message to leave out of here, if it's not anything else that we've talked about, let it be that. Stand firm, guys. And so, guys, we just want to say thank you again for joining us. Thank you for the continual support and the prayers. That probably more than anything as we continue to grow. We pray that you just stay connected with us in prayer. We pray that this will get out to the people that need to hear it, and just ask for your support and liking the podcast, sharing it, subscribing. That just really helps us get out there more. And not for us, you know, we just pray that, you know, that God just uses this to reach people, right? So not for our glory, but for His.
We're putting our hand to the plow and use it to glorify Him and however He wants to see fit. Yeah, we appreciate you guys' support.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Time.